So this is chapter number 11 from clinical toxicology. Chapter is on food poisoning. Okay, so this is one of the most commonly observed one in the community. So many times we see like lot of tragic incidents also occur in the society. Some food poisoning. So most commonly the food poisoning occurs in big functions, like thousands of people are involved, and they prepare a huge quantity of food, and there any untoward thing that can happen during, because a lot of people are involved, and the way of processing the food, if something goes wrong on, and people eating this kind of food, contaminated food or toxicated food, if it is consumed, then there will be a lot of complications in the human being. Most of the time there could not be more any lethal effect, but if the severity, that's the quantity of the poison in the food, if it is significantly high, then it can become very dangerous, life threatening to the people. But in usually in the house consumable, where we have at the house home food poisoning, or light outside street vendors food poisoning, if something happens, then it could be a likely like diarrhea, vomiting, dehydrations, and fatigue. Such kind of few things can occur. Um, the most common is like the dehydrations happens because of very frequent diarrhea and vomiting, loss of fluids from the body. So one of the most important the first aid kind of measure during this kind of food poisoning is consumes lot of fluid and salts. So that's the primary way of the management of this food poisoning. So we'll go into detail of this food poisoning. So if you see the definition of food poisoning, it's food-borne illness. So the way of the contamination entering the body is through food. It's acquired through ingestion of food contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms. Pathogenic microorganisms, again, in sense here, we can talk about bacteria, virus, or fungal infection. So that's what it is, either bacteria or non-bacterial toxins. Or also mainly is characterized by main clinical manifestations is diarrhea and vomiting. It's specifically caused by toxins. So there are two possibilities of the things that happens in food poisoning is one is through direct microorganisms infection. The other one is through the toxins that is produced by the microorganisms infections. And you can see here the diarrhea or vomiting. Okay, so I'll ask one question from what is the difference between diarrhea and dysentery? Suhas, tell me, man. What is the difference between diarrhea and dysentery? Suhas is there? I can see his attendance here. Jaisnami? Can you hear me? Hear my voice? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Mausami?
Yes, sir.
Delvin, you mark all these people absent who are all not responding.
Yes, sir.
Is Mausami there? Jaisnami? No. Suhas? Srijana? Saugand?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Who is
Hello, sir.
Srijana or Saugand?
It's Srijana. It's Srijana, sir.
Okay, what is the difference between diarrhea and dysentery?
Yeah, so diarrhea means it's frequent watery bowel movements, and dysentery means it's inflammation of intestine accompanied by the bloody diarrhea, means contain of blood in diarrhea.
Okay, so that's the thing. It's any frequent removal of fecal matter from the bowel. Okay, so diarrhea is mainly of consisting of watery stools. The loss this
Yes, sir.
dysentery will be having a lot of the rupture of the intestinal surface. So dysentery will always followed by the blood spots. Okay, so that's the major difference between the diarrhea and the dysentery. Okay, and what is the difference between nausea and vomiting? Saugan.
Nausea.
Is Saugan there?
I don't know. Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay. What is nausea and vomiting?
It's almost same.
Almost same. Then why there should be two names, huh? Simran?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is
In nausea case, the person will have the urge to vomit.
hmm.
Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, tell
Hello.
me. Hello?
Urge to vomit. In nausea, there is urge to vomit, but there is no vomiting. But in case of vomiting, hello,
Yeah, yeah. Tell me, we can hear you. Tell me.
sir. In nausea, there is the urge to vomit.
Hmm. So nausea is nothing but just it
In
is.
nausea case, there is the urge to vomiting.
Hmm. Okay, so that's the thing. Mainly, nausea is a sensation of and urge to vomit, but vomiting is a action. Okay, so which is already expellation of the any materials from the mouth. Okay, so from the esophagus, maybe GI tract, we can say. So that's the difference. We'll go into uh, the next slide, which talks about, because this is the thing like talking about the epidemiology of food poisoning. So it's saying that 600 million people are estimated. Okay, so almost 1 in 10 people in the world will have eating contaminated food. Especially people who are outside, eating the outside food, the most probably prone for is food poisoning. And you can see the death every year, 4,20,000. Okay, so in the loss of 33 million healthy life. And here the children and the elderly are more affected. Children under 5 years constitute 40% of the.
Sir, the sound is not clear, sir. Sir,
Hello?
Sir, your voice is not.
Voice is not
Your
clear.
sound is not clear, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
How about now?
Now it's okay.
Huh?
And sir, we can hear. Yes,
Now
sir,
it's
we
okay,
can
sir.
hear.
Yes.
Now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if you are not hearing properly. So, under the age of 5 years, 40% of foodborne disease we can see like 1,25,000 of death every year. So, if you see this, no one worried about much of food poisoning. Even it's more than the what we now facing about the corona disease. So that's how this foodborne disease are classified mainly, as I told, it's foodborne infections or foodborne intoxications. Okay, so infections is because of microorganisms, presence of microorganisms, and intoxication is because of toxic substances released by microorganisms. Because of that, there is a issues. So foodborne infections means infected doses of microorganisms is clearly, and toxic intoxications, as I told, toxin ingested with food. So that's the primary difference between the two terms. You can hear me now?
So,
Yes, sir.
Which is clear?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, foodborne infections, you can see that the entry of the microorganisms into the body is through the GI tract, and any contaminating food containing pathogenic microorganisms. So here, very importantly, you have to underline the terminology called pathogenics. Pathogenic in the sense like which is can able to uh, be pathogenic to the cells and tissues. So the ingestion of these pathogenic microorganisms can cause this, and this kind of the food poisoning have long incubation periods. You know what is the incubation period?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The time taken for to
Time.
proliferate.
Hmm.
Yes.
This Prabhu is there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Pani,
Oh, can't hear you, sir.
who's this Pani HZ?
One foreigner.
Hmm?
Pani,
He's one foreigner.
Yeah.
You are there?
No, sir.
You're not there. Okay, it's again it's characterized by fever. This fever is very importantly because any entry of microorganisms in the body, we get fever. So it can be either, as I told, like it could be a fungal, bacterial, viral, or even parasitic. So this kind of the infections is most commonly seen by these different types of organisms. And these are the list of the organisms which causes the thing. Bacterial we see like salmonellas. So very commonly call it as salmonella typhoid. Okay, so that is this infection can cause by this, and campylobacteriaceae and E. coli. It's a very wide commonly causing organisms, and shigellosis, cholera. So if you go some 20-30 years back, the cholera, plague was same like how we now experience with the coronavirus. So same way it used to happen there. Used to the whole village or town used to get a lot of deaths. So the people used to leave that place and go out. Okay, so that was so severe during the time. But now because of lot of vaccinations and all those things, it's not much a worry. And also Vibrio paraimmunetics, Vibrio vulnificus, Yersiniosis. These are all the few bacterial strains which can cause infections. And also fungal is Aspergillus species. It's a quite commonly seen. As I told, Aspergillus is commonly seen in any kind of AC ducts or that. So one of the very dangerous pathogenic organism. And also parasitic, Cryptosaurus poesis and Giarditis. And viral, it is mainly the hepatitis A and Norwalk-like virus. So this is the most common viruses. Can you hear my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, so now we can see the different strains of Salmonella's infections. So they have consumption of any food contaminated with 9 non-typhoidal Salmonellas. Okay, the typhoidal Salmonellas are different strains. You can see Salmonella typhimurium and Enterohemorrhagic and Filariasis, and Salmonella Newport, Softenberg, and Infantis. So these are all a few strains, and this kind of organisms, like if it get into the body with a low dose, no problem, but if it is ingested at heavy dose, so it's up to 10,000 to, you can see, like 10 lakh bacilli per gram of food. Only then it can cause the infections. Even if it is low dose, see this entry of this food into the GI tract, we can because GI tract, the pH is acidic in nature. So if the quantity of these organisms are very low, they can even killed with the acidic nature of in the GIT itself. But when the quantity is heavy dose of these organisms are present, then they may survive some in the GI tract, enter into the intestine and cause infection. The incubation period is 12 to 24 hours. The transmission is by contaminated food from any kind, and also from carriers, like from human excreta. If it is contaminated with the thing, usually these organisms enter GI tract and come out of the feces. Okay, and the same feces, the organisms, if it is contaminated with the food and that food is consumed by other person, it gain entry into that other person's body. So that's how the transmissions. And also through hands, utensils, equipments, flies also. The flies who sits on the infected feces, then again same flies comes and sits on the food, and if it is consumed, then we can then the diseases, the infections can spread. And also presence of flies, cockroaches, rats. So they are also they act as a vectors of the disease transmissions of this infection. Clinical features, you can see very commonly. These are all the common features like fever, diarrhea, vomiting, abdominal pain, headache, prostrations. So again, the prostagland inflammations, especially in this, and also malaise can be seen. In very severe cases, if it is not treated properly, then septicemia can occur. There is infection of leukopenia, endocarditis, and pericarditis. Okay, so then it may also cause the death of the person if it is not treated this on a priority basis. The next organism is the Campylobacteriaceae. Are you all there?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Campylobacteriaceae, jejuni and coli, which causes food poisoning, which also cause acute enterocolitis in man. And also jejuni occur in large numbers in cattle feces and poultry. So that's the way mode of the transmission. And also coli is mainly associated with human diarrhea. And here you can see the incubation period between 2 to 11 days. Takes quite some long time, Campylobacteriaceae. Clinical features is again quite commonly, these are the common features. I'll not go again this. So mainly this organism will affect different parts in the intestine, especially jejunum, ileum, the colon. So there will be an inflammations and also a formation of abscess in that region, and that's why it causes more of diarrhea with blood and mucus. So that's the reason here you can see that call it as dysentery, because here the inflammation and abscess formation in these regions, when passing the stools, will get damaged and the blood spots can appear in the feces. It's also transmission by contaminated food. This is the very importantly meat from infected animals. Okay, so this is the quite commonly we see that, but many times when the meat or anything that eaten raw, it causes more of a problem. But if it is cooked very well, I don't think so. It must cause a much problem here. But any infected animals through meat and consumed by human being, it may cause, and also unpasteurized milk, and also cross contamination from the sources to foods eaten uncooked or unrefrigerated. The other organism is the E. coli. You can say different strains of E. coli, and it's very commonly distributed organism, microorganisms, and they also cause potentially food poisoning pathogenic organism. So there are different strains. You can see that EPEC, that is enteropathogenic, enterotoxigenic, enteroinvasive, enterohemorrhagic. See, is everyone there?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
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 So take a
Yes,
question
sir.
on this: enteropathogenic,
Yes, sir.
enterotoxigenic, enteroinvasive, and enterohemorrhagic. I will ask in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Once again, sir.
Enteropathogenic, enterotoxigenic, pathogenic, toxigenic, invasive, hemorrhagic. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the main, it causes endemic diarrhea in developing countries. So very commonly thing. And you can see ETEC, that is T is for what? Toxigenic. They produce two toxins, which may be labile toxins, LT, or stable toxins, or also both. So they produce very specific toxins for responsible for this. You can see that they are very toxigenic, but not invasive type. Okay, so They cost more. So you have to take more information other than this. They are transmitted by food and water. The clinical feature is again commonly profuse watery diarrhea with no blood because they are not invasive. Only invasive they cause bloody diarrhea. And also abdominal cramps. Less commonly again fever, nausea, anorexia, headache, muscle aches, and the bloating. And this is the other important disease they may see in the toxigenic E. coli. It's also known as traveler's diarrhea. So people travel in different areas, and because of the travel, the way of the food consumptions in unhygiene area and taking water, drinking water, and all these things can be a source of entering the organisms. So it's one of the E. coli toxigenic things is very causing travelers diarrhea is very leading cause in Asia, Africa, Latin America. They are still the developing countries. So the incubation period for this is 5 to 15 days. It's very quite long. You can see that. And the other you can see that hemorrhagic E. coli, which is mainly a serotype called O157:H7. It's also secreted toxin secreted like verocytotoxin or Shiga-like toxin. So they are hemorrhagic. You can see that word itself. They cause hemorrhagic colitis in humans, diarrhea, abdominal pain, fever, and vomiting also may cause. And also complications like bloody diarrhea. So this is how what is the difference. And acute ulcerative or ischemic colitis and HUS. I talked earlier about HUS, no? Can anyone tell about HUS? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is HUS?
Hemolytic uremic syndrome.
I know that. What is the definition?
Hemolytic uremic syndrome.
What is Raksha? Tell me. Is she there?
Associated with cytopenia.
Huh?
It is associated with cytopenia.
Who is talking?
Sorry, sir.
Huh?
I'm Sharon, sir.
I am asking Raksha. She is not there? Okay, keep absent. What about Radhika? Rebecca?
Yes, sir, I am there.
What is hemolytic
It
uremic?
is a condition. It is a condition that affects the blood and blood vessels, sir.
Okay. Any name some drugs which causes HUS?
Yes, sir, I will. Yes, sir, I will. Mitomycin C